Welcome back to Indianomics. We have been discussing with four legal luminaries whether the judgment of the Gujarat High Court in the Essar Steel versus RBI case contains some directives, call it loopholes, that may allow the case to be delayed at the level of the NCLT. Behram, before we went to the break, referred to the fact that the insolvency resolution professional is perhaps a person whom the two banks in the Essar Steel case don't quite agree on. But beyond that, Behram, in the judgment itself, while making its arguments, Essar Steel has said that the IRP, the professional, will find it extremely difficult to run a complex company like Essar, and therefore the appointment can be disruptive. How valid will such an argument be, assuming that the case is admitted and the tribunal is on the verge of appointing the professional? Will this argument wash?
No, so I think, you know, as most of my fellow panelists have said, we need to follow the law, and hopefully the law is very clear on these issues. So I really don't think that should wash. I mean, the responsibilities and role of the IP and obligations are clearly laid down in the law and the regulations. And I also want to, you know, just once again highlight that restructuring is the first aim. So we should not go too quickly into this word insolvent, which naturally then troubles these 12 and most of the companies involved. The first attempt, as we have discussed earlier, is to restructure. So the best restructuring plan that can be achieved is what the law is trying to do. And the IP is to assist in that. There are some misunderstandings, very unfortunate misunderstandings that came through this, even some factual misunderstandings, like, you know, they said the S4A scheme was done a day before the press release. Actually, it's a year earlier. So everyone had more than enough time to figure it out outside the IBC process. Now you figure it out within the IBC process. You do exactly what you want. And just one last thing, Lata, if I may, is that what the law is saying is that commercial decisions are not taken by the court. The court takes all judicial decisions. Of course, it has to hear out, look at the facts, but the commercial decisions are left finally to the creditors committee. Okay.
I will come back to you, but Mr. Luna, do you think this is going to be as straightforward as that? As Behram says, the law requires the appointment of the professional and he will be appointed. Or do you think that the companies could successfully argue that they will sit with the creditors without the professional coming into the picture?
Well, strictly going by the provisions of the court, perhaps he will be appointed. But if we look at the High Court's order, and where they say that all provisions don't have to be seen as mandatory, and the NCLT can look at them as directive, then in that sense, maybe the issue will come that whether the appointment of insolvency resolution professional at this stage is the right thing to do or not, particularly considering that Essar is a very large company with very huge operations, and 6 months' time or 9 months' time can be a very long period to disrupt the operations of the company. So if the company is not run properly, there can be very big issues. So I think while law is like this, but in my personal opinion, you see, in earlier winding up proceedings, the liquidator used to take possession of the assets and the management control when the liquidation order is passed. In this case, we are doing it before the liquidation order is passed. The company is running. In my view, it may be appropriate that you appoint this kind of resolution professional when the company is closed unit, where you want to ensure that the transfer or siphoning of the asset doesn't take place. But in case of a running company, appointing insolvency resolution professional for management, in my view, is not a good idea. He can at the most be a person to coordinate the restructuring plan. That is where the emphasis should be, not running the company.
No, that is the emphasis that even Behram is giving, but the law requires that in the interim period, he is treated as the CEO and the committee of creditors is treated as the board. While he may work in cooperation with the management, clearly he is the CEO according to the law. Mr. Ranina, do you see this possibility at all? Mr. Luna is raising a point altogether different, that it may be wise not to appoint in some cases, or at least treat the insolvency professional with a limited mandate of just negotiating with the creditors. Do you think that that kind of interpretation can come from the NCLT at all? Or should it come?
Yes, I think the NCLT will have to direct the Committee of Creditors to look at the restructuring proposal which has been made, and then take a view whether they want to liquidate the assets, whether they want to run the company, or whatever, they want to merge the company, whatever decision they wish to take. So at that stage, obviously, the Committee of Creditors will look into the the package of restructuring which is being proposed. And if it's workable, they'll accept it. But if it's not workable, then they'll straight away, proceed with the, liquidation proceedings.
No, my point is that can they restrict the mandate of the IRP at all? Do you see that as a development, Mr. Ranina? In complex companies like, say, Essar Steel or Bhushan Steel?
No, they cannot. They will have to go by what the law provides, and if they can do so, then they will have to go by within the four corners of the law. So they can't go beyond that.
Okay.
And if there is a lacuna in the law, then obviously this is a matter which will then have to again be brought up before the government to sort out this lacuna. I think we will. This is a question of trial by error, and we'll have to proceed with this new law and see how it works out. It pans out. It really is a long-term process. It's the beginning which has been made. Let's hope it turns out in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandeep, when I put this question to another lawyer who couldn't make it here, he said, I'm creating a problem where there is none. But, there are companies which are genuinely worried that one individual, a chartered accountant or a lawyer who has passed the bankruptcy board's exam, will actually be a disruptive force. Suppliers may not supply. They may not get credit because of this uncertain interregnum. Companies are seeking from the NCLT, or will seek from the NCLT, a limitation of the mandate of the IRP in the interest of all. Is this a legal problem that might emerge?
So, Lata, I see that more as a factual problem.
Okay.
But having said that, how much of a factual problem is this becomes, we'll really need to see, because really the so-called lawyer or CEO or whoever else is coming in, they are there to protect the interests of the lenders. So essentially what is happening is they're not there running the company. They're not acting as regular directors or regular CEO, MD, etc. They're not trying to pump the pumps. They're there to supervise that if there's any possibility of revival, that it's put in the company's put in the right hands, so that whatever can be extracted in terms of money for the lenders is extracted. And if it can't be done, then obviously a breakup and sale of the assets. And again, the emphasis is on recovery of money, whether it's longer term, if there's some way to restructure and get the money out after 5 years, or whether it's not possible even after 5 years, in which case you wind it up immediately. So, I mean, these issues, these are not obviously imaginary issues. Certainly a person who's trying to kind of preserve the capital of the lenders has very different interests from somebody who's trying to preserve the interests of the equity holders. And that conflict is kind of understood. And the fact is that once a matter comes to this stage, where there have been regular defaults, or sometimes in many of these cases for years altogether, then you have to kind of have the interests of the lenders first. And the legal principles are pretty clear in terms of their interests being being paramount, we're just kind of accelerating the whole process to 180 days. So I think it may not be completely fair from a kind of big picture perspective, but it's kind of, there's no other alternative really. It's kind of the best of the worst alternative.
Okay. Well, we have to wind up this discussion. Behram, any other issue at all that might delay, or do you think we are almost there in terms of the last 180 days for at least 12 of the identified borrowers?
I think we should be almost there. Just one, final comment is that we didn't reinvent the wheel. We looked at best practices around the world. If I remember right, the administration process in the UK has been running now for almost 30 years, and then tweaked it to make it best suitable for India, of course. So hopefully this is stuff that has worked, and as I said, they have big teams behind them. It's not a superwoman, superman, and they will hire whatever consultants, experts they need.
Okay. Well, it does look like the NCLT and the courts at the moment are going to be guided by economic interests and the time value of money. Already, Electrosteel, Alok, Jyoti Structures have all been admitted by the NCLT. So, at the moment, it does look like the end game will be reached in 180 or at best 270 days. We'll have to wait and see if there are any other ambushes that lie in wait. Gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in this discussion.